Margins are used to create space around elements outside of any defined borders. First, I'm creating div with some dummy text, suppose 10 characters, dummy text of 10 characters. Control S, then home. Now we'll provide CSS property in style.css. Here I'm using external CSS, which is stored in CSS folder. Now let's provide some property for div. First, I'm providing border. So border is shorthand property for border width. So I'm providing border width of 1 pixel. Then border style. So I'm providing solid for that. And the last value, third value is border color. I'm providing red. Okay, you got border. Now let's provide some background color. Suppose Dodger blue. You can provide anything. Now let's provide margin left property and see what happens to our div. So I'm providing 50 pixel to the margin left property. So as you can see, when I provide this margin left property, this div shifted to the right with 50 pixel. Now let's provide margin top property and see what happens. I'm also providing 50 pixel of margin top. Okay, 50 pixel of space just got left above this div. Same as margin right. Okay, when I provided this margin right property of 50 pixel, this div shifted to the left with 50 pixel. To see how margin bottom property works, I'm going to add another div. Just copy this and paste this below this. Now, in the style.css, we are getting space between these two divs. Now, let's inspect this. Even though I haven't provided the bottom margin, the bottom space for these divs, even though we are getting this space, now let's inspect it and see. Here in the CSS properties, as you can see, I have provided margin top property. So the space between these two divs that we are getting is the space that I provided above the div. It's not the bottom space. So for that, I'm going to just remove this margin top property. Control S. Okay, now this two divs are got really closer. I'm just going to apply some bottom space between these divs. So for that, I'm going to use margin bottom property, suppose of 60 pixel. Okay, so this both the divs have now bottom margin, bottom space. We don't have to use this margin right, margin bottom, margin left, these properties every time when we want to create space around the elements. There is also shorthand property provided. This longhand property can be used when we want to create space in one of the sides of the elements. But when we want to provide space around the element, then we can use shorthand property for margin, like 50 pixel. Okay, when we provide only one value for this shorthand property, this 50 pixel will be going to assigned for all the four sides. 50 pixel of space for top side, from right, from bottom, and from left. All the four sides are assigned to 50 pixel. We can also provide different margins for different sides. Suppose 50 pixel for top margin, 20 pixel for right margin, 50 pixel of bottom margin, and 30 pixel of left margin. How does this value assign to the sides of the elements? It goes like this. First one is assigned to the top side of the element, second is for right side, third is for bottom side, and fourth one is for the left side. This is how it works. Now save the changes. Okay, now you can see the effect on these divs. If I use this margin shorthand property with three values, then top margin will be 50 pixel, left and right margin will be 20 pixel, and bottom margin will be 50 pixel. And if I use this property with only two values, then top and bottom margin will be 50 pixel and left and right margin will be 20 pixel. And if there is only one value for this property, then all the four margins will be 50 pixel. We can set margin property to auto to horizontally center any element within its container. So I'm going to create a paragraph with very little characters, suppose 5. Now let's provide CSS for it. So paragraph, first I'm going to provide border 1 pixel, solid red. Now let's provide some background color. Let's provide some width to this paragraph, suppose 60 pixel. Okay, now I'm going to set margin property to auto, and let's see what happens to this div. So as you can see, right now our container is this viewport, and this paragraph just come to the center of this viewport horizontally. It becomes horizontally centered when we set margin property. There is one topic which is margin collapse you should know about. Sometimes two margins collapses into a single margin. Top and bottom margins of the elements are sometimes collapsed into a single margin that is equal to the largest of these two margins. This does not happen on the left and right margins. Let me show you how margin collapse works. For that I have taken two headings. First is H1 heading, second is H2 heading. And in style.css I'm just going to set margin property for both the heading to see how margin collapse actually works. So margin 0 for top, 0 for right, and 20 pixel for bottom, and 0 for left. Now let's set margin property for H2 heading. So I'm going to set 60 pixel for top heading of H2. Now 0 0 for the rest. Okay, now make changes. Okay, as you can see the effect. Now let's inspect this page and see. So here my inspection is already opened. So just inspect the first heading in the legend section down in here. As you can see, when I hover this 20 pixel of margin, you can clearly see on the screen bottom margin of heading H1. Now let's inspect heading H2. So when I hover this 60 pixel of margin, you can see the space between these two headings is just a 60 pixel. It means the top margin of H2 heading and bottom margin of H1 heading got collapsed, which is equal to the largest margins of these two, which is 60 pixel.